Judy Moody Gets Famous, Chapter 3, Infamous. Rocky was already waiting for them at the manhole. "Hey, Rock," said Stink. "Did you ever get your picture in the paper?" "Sure," said Rocky. "Bunches of times." "You did?" asked Judy. "No, not really," said Rocky. "But they did hang my picture up in the library one time."
Oh my gosh.
"See," Judy said to Stink, "even my best friend is famous." "Why'd they hang your picture up in the library?" asked Stink. "My mom took me to the library to see this magician guy, you know. He did this trick where he took my Superman ring and made it disappear. Then he pulled it out his sleeve along with a bunch of scarves. They took a picture of it, and I'm the kid in the front row with my eyes bugging out. Not exactly famous."
Cool.
"Still," said Judy. When Judy got to school, Mr. Todd said, "Let's go over our spelling words." Spelling, spelling, spelling. The whole wide world was hung up on spelling. Judy leaned over and whispered to Frank. "Hey, Frank, ever had your picture in the paper?" "It's no big deal," said Frank. "I was 3 years old." Adam stood up and spelled the word recycle. RECYCLE. Recycle.
That's the one word.
"What was it for?" whispered Judy. Haley stood up and spelled the word ICICLE. "I won the grape coloring contest in the newspaper. You had to color this dancing grape cartoon guy?
What?
He used to be on grape juice. I couldn't even stay in the lines." Randy stood up and spelled motorcycle. MOTORCYCLE. Even Frank Pearl was famous for scribbling on a dance grape. "Everybody I know is FAMOUS. Famous," Judy grumped. "Judy," said Mr. Todd, were you hoping to get a white card today?" "A white card?" 3 white cards in 1 week meant you had to stay after school. She already had 2, and it was only Wednesday. "Why don't you spell the bonus word aloud for us?" Mr. Todd said. Bonus word? Thought Jody. She hadn't been paying attention. Judy Moody, was in a pickle. Pickle, was that the word? "Could I have the definition, please?" she asked.
Okay.
The whole class cracked up. "It's something you eat," said Rocky. Judy stood up. POPSICLE. Popsicle, she announced confidently. "Very good," said Mr. Todd, "for popsicle. Unfortunately, that was not our bonus spelling word for today." "Jessica, would you like to spell the word for the class?" Jessica Finch stood up tall, holding her pointy head so she could look very queenly. PUMPERNICKEL. Pumpernickel, said Jessica, faster than necessary. Pumpernickel was one of those artichokey kind of words that only Pinch Face herself could spell. "I bet she can't spell Aardwolf," thought Judy. Judy, Mr. Todd said, "if you study your spelling words and pay attention in class, you can avoid getting white cards. And we'll both get along famously." There it was again, that word. It was almost time for science, her best subject, so it would be easy for Judy to pay attention.
Why are you saying that?
She'd sit up straight and raise her hand a bunch, like Jessica Finch. She, Judy Moody, would not get another white card.
Why would she not get on a white card?
Yeah, I don't think a white card is good. Do you think a white card is good to get?
No.
She's already had 2, and he said that 3 will be a detention. So I don't know if it'll be good. Judy studied the squirming worm on her desk up close. As you all know, said Mr. Todd, we've been raising mealworms. Today, I'm passing one out for each of you to examine. You can often find mealworms at home. Where do you think you can find them in your house? Judy raised her hand. They like to eat oatmeal and flour and stuff, she said when Mr. Todd called on her. So maybe in your kitchen? Right, good, said Mr. Todd. They are actually the larvae of a type of a beetle, the flower beetle. Mealworms are nocturnal, said Mr. Todd. Who can explain what that means? Judy's hand shot up again. Judy! They sleep in the day and wake up at night, said Judy. Fine, said Mr. Todd. This kind of mealworm is called a T. molitor. Everyone take a minute and count how many segments you find in your mealworm. Then write it down in your notebook. Judy counted 13 segments.
Oh my God.
Not including the head. She wrote it in her notebook right away. While she waited for the next question, she let the mealworm climb up her finger. She let it climb up her pencil. Rare. The mealworm perched on her eraser. Mealworms have an exoskeleton, said Mr. Todd. What do you think that means? Judy knew everything about bones and skeletons, inside ones and out. And she knew the answer again. Judy shot her hand straight up in the air. Judy, forget about that pencil in your hand. She forgot about the mealworm on top of her eraser. Mr. Todd called on Rocky. Judy watched her mealworm fly through the air. She watched it land smack dab on Jessica Finch. Oh no, where did the mealworm land? Where did the mealworm land? On, do you know on whose head?
Jessica.
The mealworm landed on Jessica Finch's head. Oh no! She watched it crawl up the front of Jessica's shirt and right up onto the tip of Jessica's ponytail, right at the very tip. Judy forgot all about the white card. She waved her hand wildly at Jessica until Jessica looked up, then pointed frantically at Jessica's head. Stop. Ah! Jessica screamed worse than a hyena and flicked her hair off to shake off the mealworm. T. Molitor sailed through the air, hit the chalkboard, and fell onto the floor. Class 3T went wild. Class, said Mr. Todd, clapping his hands. Everyone quiet down. Jessica. Here's the class.
Can I find Jessica? Can I have the book?
That's Jessica. Jessica's got her hair in the ponytail, and the worm is right there.
Can I see the one? Let me see.
There's the worm. The whole class went crazy. Everybody quiet down. Jessica, he said, I'll not have anybody throwing mealworms in my class. Sorry. He wrote her name on the board. But I didn't. She did. That's enough. See me after science for a white card. Jessica glared squinty-eyed at Judy. Her pointy ears looked pointier. He pinched her pinched up face looked even pinchier. Judy faced front. Judy knew it was all her own fault, but she did not want to get a third white card. Jessica Finch probably never got a white card before, thought Judy. She probably didn't even know before today what it felt like to get in trouble. All Jessica had was one puny little white card, and one puny little white card never hurt anybody.
Can we go now?
Nope. Shh. Almost done. For the rest of the morning, Judy felt more and more like a bug. No, a louse. After that, her neck started to itch. Then her elbow. She scratched her left knee. Her toe itched inside her shoe. By the end of the day, Judy went to the teacher. "Mr. Todd?" she asked, scratching her ankle. "Do you think not telling the truth can make a person itch?" Scratch, scratch, scratch. "I think so," said Mr. Todd. "Is there something you're itching to tell me?" Itching to tell me? "Yes," said Judy. Scratch, scratch. "In science today," scratch, "it was my mealworm," scratch. "My fault." Here's Judy scratching as she's asking
Can I see Judy?
Mr. Todd about lying and if it causes you to scratch. Scratch, scratch. "Not Jessica Finch's." Judy told the whole truth. "Thank you," said Mr. Todd. "I appreciate you coming to me with the truth, Judy. I know that's not always easy. Does this mean I don't have to get a white card?" "I'm afraid not," said Mr. Todd. "I still want you to learn to pay better attention." Mr. Todd erased Jessica's name on the board and wrote Judy's name in its place. Judy's head hung. "Honestly, it's not so bad staying after school with me. We'll find something useful to do, okay? Like maybe clean out the fish tank." "Mr. Todd, is there a word for somebody who gets famous for all the wrong reasons?" asked Judy. "Yes, Mr. Todd. That would be infamous."
Oh my gosh.
That is the end of chapter 3, Infamous or Infamous.